Today we're going to be talking about managing files and why does our hardware sometimes fail and not work. But let's first start with the managing files. In grade 10 we taught you how to create folders, how to copy files and move them and all those type of things, renaming folders and renaming files. We're going to go a little bit more advanced today. There's sometimes when you've saved a document and you actually have forgotten, where did I save that document? And there's a wonderful feature in Windows which allows you to search for these files. And the way you do it, it's quite simple. You just type in the area where you need to type what the name of the document is. You just have to click on the start button and this little block will appear right at the bottom there, and you can just type in there what the file is that you're looking for. So that's as simple as it is. But maybe you don't know what the name of the document is, but you remember parts of the name. Then you can do that too, and it will still find the stuff. And all you have to do is press enter. So if I go to, for example, a folder, and here's a folder with all this data in here. Now, this is easy to find all the files I'm looking for. But what happens if I had thousands of files? What happens if I had lots of folders and I didn't want to go into each and every one of those folders? Well, it's quite simple. Well, in this folder, there is a search option over there, and I can search just within this folder. So I can click over here and search for something. So, for example, if I want to search for where my Hunger Games books are, I can just type in Hunger spelled properly, and there we go, and it'll give me all the files that have the word hunger in it. Now if I'm looking for all the documents, well then we know that a file extension, or the last part of a Word document, has a DOC extension. That's the part that's after the dot. And so I can use a wildcard. If you remember from when we learned Access, a wildcard is like, for example, if we use star, it means anything. And then so we say .docs, that means any name, any type of combination of letters and numbers with a .doc at the end, and it searches for that. And there we go, we can see that it's found some Word documents. So that's quite handy. So you can use it. There's some other features you can do. If I click here, you can see that there's date modified. Maybe I only want to find the files that were modified today, or I want to find files that were of a specific size, and then you can use these options over here. Just click on the date modified and pick the date that you remember that you've changed it. So that can help you find your files a bit quicker. Other things that you can take note of is this tools options, and I go to folder options, and there's search. These are all the features on how it searches and what to be aware of and what to search. What's a nice thing here is sometimes it doesn't just have to search for the file name. Sometimes you've got a Word document and you don't remember what the file name is, but you do remember one or two of the type of text that you typed in the document, so you can actually search for within the contents. It does take a bit longer, but it does have that feature available for you. So that's quite a nifty feature. Now, other ways that you can manage files, you can tell what type of file it is or what type of data it contains. Now, if I go back to that search, if I go away from the search and look at all those files, you can see that every file has a dot with a set of letters after it, which tells me what the type of file that is. And that tells me information about what program is going to open that file and what type of data should be in it. So for example, this is an Excel spreadsheet, so I can see the XLS, so it's an Excel file. I can see this is a Word document. I can see this is a PDF, so it's a professional document format. If I said MP3, then I know it will be a music file. So that tells me a lot about what type of file it is. You'll also notice that you'll see that there's an icon or little logo there next to the file, which tells me what program is going to open this file. And remember, in the previous lesson we spoke about installations, and when you install there's file association. Well, when I installed Microsoft Word, there was a file association created where any file with a .docx extension will be opened in Word. So that's why we can see exactly what type of program will be opened with this file. But if you look over there, there's a .tmp. Now there's no icon there. This computer doesn't have any program that can actually read that. So if I want to open it, if I double click on it, it's actually going to ask me, hey, we don't know how to open this file. We don't have a program that knows how to use it. So I must just select maybe one of the programs that I've got and see if it works. So that's what you can do if you've got an extension that you don't or not sure about. So we can tell what type of data is in the file. We can also convert files between formats. This is particularly useful if you, for example, some of you have a version of Word, maybe you got 2003 Word at home. And the problem with 2003 Word is that it saves as a .doc, where the newer versions are saving as a .docx. Now, if I use this file and I just save it, it's going to save it as a .docx, and then I cannot use it in the previous version that I've got at home, for example. So what I can do is I can just go File, and then I can go Save As, and when I save as, this part, Save As Type, I can specify what type I want to save it as. And I can just simply go select the 2003 document so that it can open up in Word 2003. And as you can see, there's tons of options here. I can make it open up in all sorts of different programs, WordPerfect. I think there's even options if I want to open up in a Macintosh computer. There we go, the Macintosh Apple computer for their word processors. So you've got lots of options on how you can convert your file. Okay. Other things that you can do is you can also export or import. So for example, if I've got a Access database here and I want to use this file in a spreadsheet, then I can export it to a spreadsheet, which means I can take this data and convert it to an Excel spreadsheet. Or maybe I've got a spreadsheet already that I want to bring into Access, then I can import it using those options under the external data. So we can convert files depending on what software we want to use with them. We can add extra information about the file. You might have learned a bit about this when we did Microsoft Word, but if I come over here, you'll remember if I go to File, and you'll see all these properties over here about the file. It's quite handy, that words, because if you write in an essay for your English teacher and they say it must be 500 words, at least you don't have to count all the words, it counts it for you. And there you got it, and some advanced properties, and you can just click on them and add tags and add titles and all that type of thing. If you actually in Windows Explorer, you can actually right click on a file and go to the properties, and then you can go to the details, and there you can see the details about it as well. So I can tell you some information about the file, which is quite handy. So other things that you can do with managing files, you can also hide a file. So for example, if there's a brother or sister and you don't want them to read your love letter to your boyfriend or your girlfriend, you can hide the file. And the way you would do that is if I go back to my Windows Explorer, let's say this document, that's that picture, I'm gonna hide it. I don't want other people to see that I've got it. All I can do is right click on it and go to the properties, and you'll see there's these two properties over here. Now the hidden will hide the file so that you cannot see it's there. The read-only option means you cannot edit the file. So if you've got a document or something that you don't want other people to change, and they must just get the information from it, but they mustn't change anything on the document, then you can make it read-only. So those are your options. So if I make it hidden, for example, let's try and see what happens. You see it's faded out and then it's gone. It's disappeared, but it's still there. But how do I get it back? Well, there are lots of ways. You can still open it if you know what the name is, but a little way to get around it is if you go to your tools and you go to folder options, you can actually view, and there you see don't show hidden files. I want to show hidden files, please. Just while I'm over here, sometimes on your computer you'll notice that you won't see this .doc or the .jpeg when you've got your files, and that's because I've got hard extensions for known file types unticked. If you tick it, then it will hide those because it obviously knows what type of file it is. But if you want to see what the file extensions, you just have to uncheck that tick box. So I've shown hidden files. I go OK, and there you can see it's a little bit faded, but you can see that is a hidden file. Okay, so there I can get to it if I need to get to it. You can also stop anyone from changing. That's that read-only option that I showed you. If I take a Word document, let's go to it. Let's take this Word document over here, and I go Properties, and I make it read-only. Then when I open it, you'll see at the top there it says read-only. So if I make any changes to this and save it, it's going to say you can't save it. You can only save as a different version or different file name. So that's good to know if you want to stop people from changing your files. So, dealing with hardware failure. Why does our computers not always work all the time? Why does it fail? Well, examples of using hardware incorrectly. Things that we do that mess up our computers. First of all, we force the connectors into the wrong slots. How many times have you taken a USB port and tried to shove it into the a flash drive, tried to put it into the USB port, and you push too hard and it might break the USB port? So you must be careful of that. You can break the pins, you can break the connector, and it does happen. Maybe you're not using the correct consumables. Maybe there's certain things that your computer needs and you're not using the right versions. For example, maybe your printer needs a particular type of inkjet cartridge, but you're using the wrong one, and that could make it clog up and not work. Ooh, spilling liquids on equipment. We love to have our bottle of water or our coffee next to our computer, but if you accidentally knock that over or someone else knocks it over onto your computer, then you've got a problem, because liquids and electronic equipment don't work well together. In fact, it actually messes them up. So be careful of spilling liquids on your equipment. Not protecting against power surges or lightning strikes. That's a common problem if you're in an area where there's a lot of lightning, or if the electricity is not constant and there's little power surges or power sparks. What we can do to protect that is you can get special plugs that you can put into the wall, that your computer plugs into those plugs, so that it catches any power surges or strikes if possible. So things like that you can do. Also, when there's lightning, try to switch off your computer or have it not connected to a plug point. That's also some good advice. Free from me. What happens if you are walking? There's we have a lovely lady walking, let's call her Kirsty, and she accidentally drops her laptop. Now that can also damage your equipment quite badly. Like laptops, tablets, cell phones, they're not really designed for bouncing, so we must try not to drop them, and because it can mess up the connections inside, it can mess up the equipment inside, and a lot of the time, besides the fact that you could crack the screen, some of the stuff inside could be damaged. So be careful about dropping your equipment. And also you must understand that we work with computers and they have a lifetime that's limited. There's going to come a time where there's normal wear and tear, and they will just eventually pack up and say, oh, I'm too old, and so on like that. So your equipment does get old eventually, and you do need to replace it. So just be aware, they don't go on forever. So here we got a picture of someone. This is a normal USB port if you had to look at it very closely. But someone tried to shove the USB port in, and all of a sudden this is damaged. Now this USB port is unusable. It won't work now. Here's a simple scenario with your phone. If you shove that connector or that cable in too hard, all of a sudden that little part gets dislodged and you can't use it anymore. And this could be a big problem, because now you can't charge your phone. And knowing you, your world will end because you can't have your phone anymore. And what about if you, as I said, you had your coffee next to your computer and then you spill it onto the computer, and that's a problem. If you are known or prone to spill liquids onto your electronic devices, it might be a good idea to buy a device that can handle water or liquids. Some of the new Sony products, you can actually put them in the bath, you can put them underwater, and they'll still work. And if you by some chance cannot have a device that works like that, then, and it does get water on it, then your next best option, it doesn't always work, but it's worth a try. You can put it into a bag of rice or a bowl of rice, and sometimes the rice will soak up all the liquids, but you have to leave it there for quite a few days to soak up all the liquids. So hopefully that will work. Just make sure you don't switch it on and you put it into rice straight away, so that no electrical faults will be fried or anything like that. Some reasons why your components might fail. Well, obviously, if you've got repeated power failures or power surges, that's obviously going to make your hard drive or something in your computer not work properly. So beware of that. Also, as I said, subject to weather damage, if you get, or water damage, sorry, if you get lots of water or liquids around your computer, that could also damage it. So be careful about that milkshake or that bottle of water around your computer. You can drink at it from a safe distance. Also, the incorrect ways of using your hardware. Some people like to make the computer work a bit faster, so they change the settings and they overclock it. And the problem with overclocking and all these changes is sometimes it overheats. Computers tend to overheat. That's why we have air cons in our labs, because we want to keep the computers nice and cool, because they work better when they're cool. But when they overheat, that's when there's sometimes damage. Certain components could melt and stuff like that. So be careful of overheating and that. So there's a brief overview of what we did in the two chapters. Remember, in the previous one we spoke about installing software and managing our computer. Today we spoke a little bit about the file properties and converting files, and also about what happens when our computer doesn't work properly. So Hope you've enjoyed this and that you've got something constructive out of it. Remember to go back to the previous videos if you need to listen to that. Oh, and there's my fluffy puppy Baxter. Isn't he cute? So, hope you've enjoyed it and learn hard.